You are officially in the loop. You are now officially in the loop. Let's get to it. Okay, guys, welcome back to In the Loop podcast. I am here with a very interesting and I'm excited new friend guest here this week, Miss Andrea Busby, the 2024 National Finals Barrel Racing Aggregate Champion, and one of my people I call my friends now from rodeos. So thanks for coming to In the Loop.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we had this amazing conversation the other day on the phone, which we didn't get it recorded. So that's why we're here today to record it on the podcast. But we had this amazing conversation before the American, and it turned into I had a few questions for her from broadcasting, and it was an amazing conversation. I'm like, this has got to be a podcast. So here we are a week later.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad. Yeah, that was a great experience.
Well, and for those of you who are listening, if you want to go and watch us on YouTube, we're also on YouTube. But what I'm going to talk about is what I'm seeing in Andrea's background right now, which is such a cool photo. And I just asked her a minute ago. I'm like, is that Jeff team roping? Which her husband, Jeff Busby. I'm like, is that Jeff team roping? She said, actually, that's Jeff and I team roping. So tell me a little bit about that backstory. It's a cool one.
I had roped a little bit and roped the dummy, but I was mostly a barrel racer. And when Jeff got diagnosed with throat cancer 8 years ago, I secretly was gonna learn to team rope while he was resting and sleeping. And I was very naive about cancer and cancer treatment. There was no resting, there was no sleeping. Like it was brutal and grueling, and it was horrific. And he survived it, but I did hold good to my promise, and I learned to team rope after he got better. So, but that was kind of even more special. Like I got to, he was in the practice pen, and Darnell's were down. Sean Darnell was there. For a long time, I'd only turn one off if Sean was healing behind me because I was scared to dally. But yeah, he'd be talking to me the whole way down the arena, and but that was actually the first time that Jeff and I entered together, and it was at the U.S. Finals. So I feel like I can belong a little bit on your podcast. I actually have entered. I went to Arizona, roped in Arizona, won some money. This is a pretty funny story, though. This is so, you probably shouldn't start out at the U.S. Finals for your first time to enter. And Danielle Darnell says, "You want to go watch the barrier?" And I'm like, "Sounds like a team roper thing to do, sure." So we go down there, and I'm sitting there. I can't believe I'm telling this story to anybody, actually, but I'm watching the barrier, and I'm like, these guys, and this box is like forever long.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay, so this is super embarrassing. I'm like, why do they need this long of a box because they can't score their horse? Like, what is the problem here? I mean, I've only been to rodeos and paid attention. Like, there was one barrier.
I love it.
So I'm so glad I said out loud, I was like, Danielle, like, I'm just going to move up. Like, I don't need all this room. And she looks at me like, what are you talking about? Like, have you lost your ever loving mind? I'm like, my horse scores good. Why is this box so long? And she's like, Andrew, there's a barrier here. And the barrier for, like, I'm so stupid. I promise you, if I had not said that out loud, I would have rode right up and sat in the middle of the box. I'm like,
Well, I'm ready. Let's go. Let him out.
So yeah, good thing I'm in March Spirit.
Yeah, good thing you lost Barry. So I will say in your defense, like when I quit team roping, it was right when they started this World Series barrier. And so like you literally did. It was just like the rodeos. I mean, they didn't have a neck rope. They did use an eye, but still like you had to score. And it was a normal box. I love it. You're like, what are you people doing? Like this is not functionally working. Like, why do you need this long of a box? I love the confidence there. You're like, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna be so fast, like, I'm gonna blow your skirt up." Oh, I love it. You retired. I love it. Well, and that's what I was like, "Man, I didn't know you team roped," and so it just so full circle, right? We see you and we see you on TV and we see these amazing horses that you ride, and never would we think you were also an amazing jockey and a team roper, and you like long boxes, so that's cool. Horses that score good in long boxes. Oh, that's awesome. Well, maybe sometime I can come out of retirement, you come out of retirement, we can be team ropers again. Yeah, that'll be fun. Oh, man. Well, that's great. Well, and I think that it just goes into testament, and that's, kind of what our conversation led into this year is I got to watch you, and it seemed like every year in your rodeo, it seems like you're kind of on the same path as like a group of people, right? We all kind of get up the same, and it seems like we all kind of follow each other at the same places and a lot of the same things. So it was really neat to watch your journey last year to the NFR. And I felt like I got to watch you run all year long and ran into you in the parking lot. You were always the last one in the parking lot. We'll talk about that too. Um, but yeah, it was really neat to see. And so the conversation that started this for me was I watched you grow all year long. I watched you run all year long. I watched you go through the highs, the lows, and everything. We were battling it out at the end of the year to make the NFR. Every $1,000 counted. Yeah, I know. We were both like holding our eyes up at Piala. Um, And so it's just that's the story I wanna tell today. So kinda how it started out, and we'll just pick up where we left off, but I my question to you was, I saw you rodeo all year long. What was it like finally getting to the national finals rodeo in the barrel race and running down the tunnel the very first time?
Well, at first, I think my answer was relief. I'm like, oh, like I was. It took a while to get excited because I was so tired, as you know. I mean, the end of September was brutal for me. Um, because I didn't have that much money won going into the summer. Maybe, I don't know what I had won going to, maybe 30,000 going into Reno or something. I don't know, but and maybe 45 after the 4th of July. So I did the majority of my winning from July to September. And I went to 94 rodeos, but I went to 20 of those in September.
Yeah.
So laying in my rig was not a lot of fun the month of September. And I remember I made the 8-man round at Sioux Falls, and that pretty much, that
No, you're good.
ringing, that solidified my, I knew I'd made it. And then so I was pretty relieved, but I still didn't feel like until September 30th, and I was like, oh, they're going to take money away from me or something. I don't know. I screwed up somewhere. But at the end, we woke up that morning, and I was entered the last day at Stephenville, and Jeff's like, you want to go? I had sent a horse and was going to fly, and I was like, no, I don't. I don't know if I ever want to go to another rodeo again.
I'm not sure if I ever wanna rodeo again. I'm done.
Yeah, done. So definitely relief. And then it just felt good, and I've thought about that a little bit. And you always hear people talk about, or if read motivational things or listen to sports psychologists. And I really did focus on the journey. I think when my things started to change for me when I focused on the process and not the outcome, because they talk about it's the climbing the mountain, and then once you get to the peak, it's so short, and
Mhm.
so you're like, oh, take the picture and go back down. But it's the journey along the way that's the important part. And so I can say that I think that was more, it was more about accomplishing the goal. Like I had worked at this for so long, and to finally accomplish the goal was very satisfying.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as the finals got closer and we started getting excited, and um, you know, um, getting packed, getting your horses ready, getting all your clothes and all the stuff, and that was fun and doing all those things. And they threw a great party for me. Jeff did, and he kind of planned all that. Um, and then once you get to Vegas, you know what they say NFR stands for, and just another rodeo. And it really kind of is, other than the commitments. You know, you're so busy. But as far as once you get to the Thomas Mack and you get on your horse, like you said, you're warming up with the same people you warmed up with all year
Mhm.
last year. You know, it's the same girls, it's the same guys, it's everybody's the same. It's honestly really quiet out back, oddly quiet almost, more than most rodeos. They got the rodeo plane, other than the airplanes flying overhead. That's very loud, but it's pretty quiet. And then you go to the tent, and it's pretty quiet. And ironically, what I was very surprised about how quiet the alleyway. They load you in the alleyway, and how quiet that was. And then you're like the next person, and that's when it gets a little louder. But I remember the very first time I went in that, like, running into the arena, it's so bright and so yellow and so loud when you hit the mouth of the alleyway. I think I was like,
Breathe.
yeah, that first run, but it was awesome, and Benny's just as cool as they come.
He
I
is.
mean,
He is cool as they come.
yeah, he just does things with his body that most horses can't do. It's like he knows, and he just moves his hip around, or he moves his rib cage around, and just he just is. I think he's one of the best that's ever done it.
Yeah. I would have to agree to that. And I got to meet Benny in a lot of parking lots and hang out with him and watch his prima donna care. Um, you said earlier you've been doing this for so long and it was so satisfying to finally get there. So walk me through what that looks like. Like, how long have you been trying to make the national finals rodeo and what did that process look like?
I mean, I came close in '07. So and that was a horse Jeff and I met over was Soul Flame, and I rodeoed on him, and I think I ended up 19th or 20th. And then he got hurt, and then we got other horses, and um, would be in the top 40 or get into Houston and then not. So I mean, I haven't rodeoed like I rodeoed last year for that long, but I mean, I've been going to rodeo since 2007, and then we started, and then there was years we didn't rodeo and did other things, and um, especially when Jeff got sick, and then there for a few years, and um, started raising our own and doing that. So, but yeah, I've been at this a while.
Well, and I mean, to me, you nailed it on the head when you're like, it's the journey. It's not, because I think that if you rodeoed for a long period of time, you know that it is that if you have outcome goals and you just focus on those outcome goals, it gets pretty everybody gets pretty hungry. It's not that easy to focus on just those, and so it's through the journey. I think you said, the other day, Brittany Pozzi-Tonozzi told you that, like, nobody will leave here unscathed. Rodeo will get you at some point in time. And so talk a little bit about that this year. I said, "What was your turning point this year?" And you're like, "After the 4th of July, I wanted to go home." So tell me about your turning point this year.
Um, Benny got a keratoma in his foot. It's kind of like a tumor in his foot when he got home from the NFR last year. And so I hadn't even been on him before the 4th of July. So I had rodeoed and made the short round on, or the semi on Tito, not that the mare I went Cheyenne on at Denver, and made the short round on her at Fort Worth. And then she fell at Fort Worth and chipped her knee. So we had to have that taken out. And so I was rodeoing on Derby, but then last year with her was just one thing after another. She actually abscessed a tooth and had that surgically removed and had a keratoma. So I just think, I made the finals on her at Houston. And so I was kind of piecing things together. And I had the same horses. I had super nice horses. Um, and I'd rodeoed with Brittany in the rig for 2 or 3 years. And, uh, but at the 4th of July, like Derby had worked, I maybe won third in the first round at Greeley, and then the second round she came back, and uh, something was amiss with her there, and then I placed at Pecos, drove all the way up from Pecos to Killdeer, and my other mare worked like crap at Killdeer, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I think I should go home. Things just feel like they're not working out. And Jeff was like, are you kidding me? Like, Benny's back and you're about to get on him at Killdeer. And I was like, oh, I haven't even ran him. I don't know. He had this keratoma in this foot, and we were having to kind of baby that foot and keep it padded and all this stuff. And I go to Killdeer, and he smokes off a run on his first run back, and I win. And that was literally the turning point, because I was like, okay, I can do it. And then we went to Cody, and I won third at Cody, and I went to Killdeer or Livingston, maybe won second at Livingston, and then I just, and then what happened after that? Then the next week, oh my God, then next week I drove, I think, 7,000 miles and won. I was so excited to win a $700 in Elko, Nevada. I was like, and so then it
Like,
just kept
praise
going.
Jesus.
Yes, I was like, I went from, it was horrible, like Casper to Gunnison to Sheridan to Elko. That's a lot of miles to not win very much money. So the little Black Mary ran at the American Pickles came through for us at Elko. I was like, whew, I didn't get skunked that week. But it just, and then it was, some weeks were easy and some weeks weren't. I had a great August, and that, Betty just was a rock star in August and won a bunch of money. But you don't get there unscathed. I don't care, and it's kind of like you said, you rodeo with the same people all year long, so the girls, somebody's like hunting a ride because their truck broke down, their engine blew up, they're looking for somebody to come fix their generator because their generator quit and the air conditioner's not working. It's 110 in Spanish Fork, and somebody's horse is limping or somebody's horse is coughing, or nobody. You have to be able to work through that on the road.
Yeah.
And if plan I was very type A, very had a plan. I liked a plan. I like things to go by a plan. And that might be what Brittany taught me the most, is like, stop trying to figure it out so far. Like, you can enter, but like, you just got to figure it out when you get there. Because again, you don't know what's going to, figure it out when it gets closer. But you got to be able to figure things out on the road and on the fly. And if you can't go with plan B, C, D,
Z.
it's, yes, rodeo is probably not the sport for you,
That was
for
something
sure.
too I had to learn. I'm very type A. I like a plan, I like a routine. I am the every day, like, I do the same
Me
thing
too.
every day, and my husband is completely the opposite, drives me
Mine
bonkers,
too.
bonkers, and
Just
I'm like,
a
"What are you gonna do
tornado.
today?" And he's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing." Like, how
I
could you really be
know.
thinking about nothing? Like, is that really happening right now?
Or
Um
Jeff's thinking about 7,000 things, and there's 7,000 things going on, and it looks like tornado.
Oh, 100%. I'm the exact same. Like, I have a binder like this of my planner, right? I don't even know why I still have one of those. But yeah, I mean, and it's that's one thing I have tried to adapt to when and it's I've seen it kinda carry over with some things within a business or anything like that, you've gotta be kinda type A, but some of that stuff, they're like, "Well, what's your plan?" And I'm like, "I really don't have one," and or 2 years ago, I'd been like, "I'm gonna do this and this and this and this, and that's how everything's gonna end up."
And when it didn't work, I would load up and go home.
Yeah.
Or I would turn out, and Brady's like, figure it out. Like, you can figure this out on the road. And yeah, I had to get a little tougher to be friends with Pose.
Talk about some of the best experiences. I know you guys got to rodeo for a few years together. So neat to see. One of my biggest takeaways from the outside in, which I mean, I don't know a whole lot about everything that you guys do. I'm just totally a fan. But to see those horses that she rode at the NFR that were Busby quarter horses, and then transitioning to you riding that horse at the NFR and having success and all of the things. And just keeping that camaraderie within the rig, learning those lessons. Like, what are some of the biggest takeaways that you learned rodeoing with Brittany?
um, I mean, there's so many intangibles. Like, it's hard to put your finger on it, and from her mental toughness too. And yes, of course, like, she's as good as they come on really seasoning those horses. And that was the deal with Benny. You know, he was fabulous with Jana. He was an outstanding futurity colt. And, you know, he's an amazing horse. And he's all three of us went on him, and we're all different, and we all ride different, and he just has adapted. But there were some things like that Brittany really went through with him, and learning that horse on the road. And I think that's always a little bit of a misconception. You don't know a horse till you leave home in June
Mm-hmm.
with them, how that's gonna go, and some health things with him that. And Brittany's good at figuring things out on the fly. And I think that was, you know, what's in seasoning horses to the rodeo scene. She's great at, and we've seen it again this year with that Sir Epic horse that she's running. And but just from maintenance of my horses, how to do that on the road. Benny didn't love, and he still doesn't to this day. Like as good as he is, he can get a little high or kind of float his outside shoulder going to the first barrel and really getting coming to that, especially when there's not a kind of a fence within at least sight distance, you know. So, and she figured out some of those things with them, and once they hit once she got it, you know, I mean, he ran off at Houston, he ran off at Tucson, but and that was with her, and then I think by June she kind of had it dialed in and figured out and what bridle worked for him outside. And I literally didn't change anything. She's like, this is what you exercise him in. This is what you run him in. And he still goes in those things.
Yeah.
You know, or I talk to her probably every day, every other day, still to this day. But her guidance at the NFR was, and would Benny have gone and done the same thing? Maybe. But she gave me a lot of confidence, and for sure watching her do it the year gave me a ton of confidence. But her being in my corner, telling me, you know, I talked to her after perf each night or before practice the next morning. You know, the first night I think I saw you up at the Purina after I placed, and I called her. I was like, what do you think I should do? She's like, don't screw him up because practice is next morning. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Got it.
Try
Thank you
not
for the
to screw him
confidence
up in
boost.
the next practice. Yeah. But you know, yeah, she's great, and she's tough, and she works hard. There's not many people that outwork her.
Mm-hmm.
So
Talk a little bit about that confidence. You know, I know we talked about that on our phone call, and because that is one thing like I saw in you just watching is yeah we saw the like you said deep sigh relief you made it, but to me watching you all 10 runs you placed in how many of the rounds out of 10?
9.
Oh, yeah, 9 out of 10 rounds, cool. Yeah, no big deal. So you placed in 9 out of 10 rounds at the biggest rodeo of the year and win the average. But I just every run I saw your confidence, and then it's carried into this winter too. It's like you have so much confidence, you're giving those horses so much confidence, just like Derby or watching her run and all the things she has so much more confidence this year in everywhere you've been. So talk about what confidence means to you and how you feel like you've built that up run after run.
Um, I do. You know, we talk about Brittany and what I think everybody needs somebody in their corner, and the things that she's taught me. And then Sue Smith has been in my corner. She was a throat cancer survivor too, and we really got close. She kind of walked me through Jeff. You know, she was about 4 months ahead of Jeff's diagnosis, and so she was kind of through treatment when he started. And I hundreds of phone calls to her. What do I do now? What do I do now? And really got close then. And so that's been 8 years ago now, and we really started riding together. And Sue's one of my dearest friends. She is my go-to, and she has spent countless hours riding with me over the last 10 years and teaching me, you know, making my horsemanship better. And so I think confidence comes from knowing what you're doing and knowing how to do what to do when. And so that's been a huge piece to my confidence. And then I'm very grateful, I think. We talk about God's timing is always perfect, and it truly is, that I made the NFR when I did. Because by the time I made the NFR, I was very solid in my faith, very solid in who I am, very solid in my marriage, and knowing where my help comes from. I have a small circle of great people that I lean on. Um, and knowing that that didn't define me. Like it was, I was not that nervous. I was a little tight, but I really wasn't any more nervous than I get for Houston
Mhm.
or, big rodeos. And
Yeah.
because I think the confidence comes from knowing who you are and where your priorities lie. And I think when your priorities are in order, it was easier for me to compete at the top of my game because I didn't let the moment become bigger than it really was. Because at the end of the day, barrel racing is what I love. It's what I do. I made it. Everything else was icing on the cake. And um, I would go home no matter what happened, and all of the things that really mattered were still in place. My faith, my family, my circle, who I was. And so I am so glad it took me until I had that in order to make it to the NFR.
I
And I
love that.
think that's where my confidence comes from, and knowing that it doesn't define me anymore. Like I was so goal oriented with my type A personality that I would let it define me before, and now it doesn't define me. And I also think I put a sense of urgency on my year last year. I think we talked about that,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, I have done this a long time. If God wants this, it's going to happen, but kind of not like I'm going to get this done
Mhm.
mentality too. And I remember sitting at Denver, like, sorry to shout out to Denver, but it's not my favorite rodeo. I was like, I am not coming back here. So this might be the last time I run at Denver, Colorado, and make it count. Like, let's put some urgency on this. And I think there was a little bit of that for me last year. And then, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, what your confidence is. You got to have the horse to do it. Doesn't
Yep.
matter, once you step on that. A horse like Benny or a horse, and Derby's fabulous. She was fabulous with Ashley. Seth and Ashley raised her and trained her, and um, she had an outstanding futurity career. And the first year I got her there, it took me a while to get with her, and she's very sensitive. Um, you I can think what I want her to do and she doesn't. And sometimes, she's just that sensitive. So if you wiggle a little bit, she's going to do it. And so it took her a while to come my way, and it took me a while to come her way and to figure that out. And she was just, she hadn't really been to any rodeos when I got her. And so the first year I placed, this is my third year rodeoing on her, and I placed in the more slacks than I did perfs. And then last year she placed in some perfs, but we had lots of health struggles. And then this year, she, even at home, like she just really grew up.
Mhm.
She's 8 this year, and before everything was a big deal. Like if you moved something in the wash rack, and that she can still be a little like that, but she's kind of grown up this year, and things don't seem to be quite such a big deal. And we figured some health things out with her, and that's just it too. Like it takes a while to figure out what does this horse need to live on the road. And that's why I say you don't really know those horses till you leave with them in June, and what it's going to take to rodeo on them, and how to prepare them. And then that's another thing, preparing them. I think Sue's taught me a lot about my horsemanship. So to have your horse prepared and ready to go and all your buttons pushed before you get there.
Yeah. Well, and
That
I
was a long answer a short question.
Well, it was a great answer. I'm just sitting here like just sponge. I'm a sponge. That's why I have this podcast selfishly, is because I need to learn from people. And so I'm like, I like what she's got. I'm going to talk to her on this podcast. Um, so we one of the things that I absolutely loved in our conversation, and I want to add on to it. We're talking about Derby. We're talking about the American and what was coming up, and your husband Jeff, which you've talked about him throughout this show, and just how instrumental he is. And I feel like you and I relate to that a lot. Is like Raymond is the same way for me. Like if Raymond can't do this with me, like I'm not doing it. And, so Jeff, you said one thing that Jeff was talking about, and I'm like, I need to bring some more Jeff in my life. Maybe I should call him and see if he wants to help me work on my goals. But he was talking about this year for you, and you guys have had a great year so far. You said Benny's turned out getting ready, but you've been running Derby, and she's been kicking butt. And he told you about the American, we're focusing on our goals. So talk a little bit about Jeff and his part that he's played in your role and in your career. I know not just as your husband, but as your best friend, and he's one of the people that are in your corner.
You're gonna make me cry. Um, I wouldn't be here without Jeff, and he's a whirlwind tornado. Everybody that rodeos with us sees it, but big ideas, big, thinks way bigger than I do. Sets way bigger goals for me than I do. But last year, again, another different. He got to be in the rig with me all year long. He got in. I went to California and never got out. And it is so important who you put in the rig with you. You know, that energy, you can get negative energy in it. And I think I'd kind of like, oh, it doesn't bother me that much if somebody was in the rig with us didn't have good energy. But I mean, I protect that fiercely now after knowing that. And just I know Jeff has my best interest at heart 100% because he's as invested in this as I am. I mean, he's been invested with it since 2007. And so having somebody that cares if you win just as much as you do, and maybe sometimes more, in the rig with you is invaluable. And, I talked about September being rough. There was times that it was shift driving. Casey would be in the trailer sleeping, I'd be on the bed in the Peterbilt sleeping, and Jeff would be driving. And he drove lots of all nighters, and he was the rock star at the all night drive. But he knows me, he knows my horses, when to and what I needed, and he was just so positive last year. And I don't it wouldn't have happened without him there and kind of keeping me going when I was like, I'm done. He was the one that said, no, we're gonna go. And he made that drive from Pecos, Texas to Kildare, North Dakota too. So it wasn't like he was just jumping in the rig. So that wouldn't have happened without him there for sure. Um, and just being my person.
Mhm.
He was. I didn't go to the arena really without him right there. And yeah, and then I guess toward the American, Jeff's saying is always, does the risk outweigh the reward? And we turned Benny out when we got home from the NFR, pulled the shoes off, let him be a horse, and I got on. I was like, okay, I've got these other mares. You've got to. Derby felt good. Let her ride. I knew I wasn't going to run Benny at Denver. I knew I wasn't going to run him at Odessa. I knew I wasn't going to run. I wanted to run Tito or Derby at Fort Worth because I think it's set up for a lefty, and I wanted to run Derby at Houston. Um, I thought I might get on Benny at San Antonio, but as it kind of started progressing, Derby was doing so well. Lisa Lockhart hauled me around a little bit when I was younger, and because we were both from up there, and something I learned from her was like, don't get off what you're winning, even if you think, oh, I think you can kind of get in your own way by jumping around a little bit on horses. So I ended up staying on Derby all winter, and she was doing great. We were tapped off, and then the American came up, and I I had Pickles and I had Derby, and I really, it doesn't count for the world standings.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to ever, that my horses, I, I, I think last year stretched me more than I asked more of my horses than I've ever asked them. I asked more of myself, I asked more of my people. Like, it stretched every avenue of me. But I also try not to take that for granted, that I want it to count when I run them.
Mm-hmm.
And not that $100,000 isn't amazing. I wasn't eligible for the million. Um, and so there was some discussion in our house, like, what are your goals? What has, is it fair to ask Derby to do this? Jeff was very much, he did not want me to run Derby at the American. I very much wanted to run Derby at the American. I guess I totally understood where he was coming from on sticking to our goals. And I agreed with him there. The ego side of me really wanted to run Derby because I'm still competitive. I still want to win first. And
I see you like loading
I
Derby in the trailer in the middle of the night and like sneaking out of the driveway with her.
promise you, if I'd have loaded her, I'd have run her. Because when I got there and I looked at the setup, I was like, I want to send somebody over here with Derby. Because it was just it was just kind of, it would have been set up great for her. And, but again, he's good at pushing me outside my boundaries a little bit too. He's like, Derby carried the load this winter. You have Pickles. Pickles is the same caliber mare. She makes me. She's a little harder for me to jockey, but she's every bit as nice and was absolutely capable. And she was fresh. And he's like, it is time. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she did great. I drew bottom of the ground. It was a little heavy, and um, she was
Yeah,
outstanding.
she made a great
I
run. She made a great run.
She made a great run. It was a little bit luck of the draw right there, and it is what it is. And so I have no complaints, and I'm glad I ran her. And we also have a breeding program. Jeff also said this could be a really big stage for her. Like, you know we not that she needs proven, not that Derby needs proven anymore, but that's a big stage for a
Mm-hmm.
mare like that. Um, and to go, she proves herself on stages like that. That's good for her offspring. So we did not load Derby in the trailer, and I ran
You're
Pickles.
like, and
And
I'm still growing and maturing.
yes, and the ego side of me did not get to take over that day.
Wow, that's funny. I know, like, when I was talking, on the broadcast there, and they're like, "What's Andrea gonna ride?" And I'm like, we're undecided yet. We're not sure, but I think she's riding Pickles." And then he showed up on Pickles. That was great. Talk about what you're most looking forward to. You have amazing horses, just like you said. You have the breeding program that you've got, which I know that when you when you turn full force into that, it's gonna be I mean, not that it's not already prestigious and so amazing, but, like, when that's all you guys do, watch out. So what are you most looking forward to this year, and kinda what string of horses that you've got coming along?
Um, Looking forward to. I've got Benny's back cinch up a couple more holes,
That's
so
good. He's not a
I'm
broodmare
excited
anymore.
to get.
Cool.
Yeah. He didn't look that fat. I was turning, maybe he was kind of in the same routine, and I went to put my saddle. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna take a minute. I don't know how your belly, like an old man pot belly, got this big. But so getting back on him will be, of course, I'm looking forward to that. And I've never been to Calgary, so I'm excited about that. Which Brittany tells me, if you have a horse that likes Calgary, it's fun. If you have one that doesn't love it up there, it doesn't, it can be not so fun. But I'm just looking forward to that experience, and um, I hope that, um, knock on wood, I can keep Derby healthy because she's been just killing it. And Tito got a little foot sore at Denver, and she's back and looking great. So just excited to go again and have my horses happy and healthy, and hopefully capitalize on some of those experiences. We got into the NFR Open, gone to Calgary. So hopefully we can capitalize on those things and make it a good year again.
Journey along the way.
Yeah.
So with everything that, in a synopsis of all we're looking at, if you could go back and you could tell younger Andrea something, what would you tell her and why?
That's a good question. What would I tell myself? Cuh. Um, One, I always knew the Lord, but I didn't. I can't. I can tell you, I didn't have the same relationship, and so I would have told myself to figure out how to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, not just know Him, because that my life changed then. I would tell myself that, and I would tell myself to. I want to say I would tell myself that it's going to happen, just keep working, but I don't know if I would have kept working if I knew it was going to happen. So maybe I don't want to disclose too much information to my type A personality. Um, but um, to enjoy the journey, and don't, it's um, just keep working, keep your head down, enjoy the journey, and don't get so focused on the outcome. Get focused on the process. And Jeff's a big, he's really drives that home, and it's true. As much as my Type A personality wants to focus on the outcome, but um, and now I love riding my horses, so that's as rewarding for me, and seeing them progress as sometimes going to the rodeo is. So
Mhm. Well, I think it's pretty neat. Age, I know. Age and a it's like I kinda wanna take a personality test when I first started 5 years ago rodeoing, definitely type A, and then when I'm done rodeoing, I wanna take another personality test and see what I've evolved into.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little age and wisdom and miles, and yeah.
It all comes full circle. Well, from team roping to barrel racing, we've covered quite a bit today, but thank you so much for coming on here, for sharing your story and just being raw and real. Congratulations on what an amazing year you've had last year, already this year to date, and hopefully we'll be entered the same, and I'll follow you, and we'll get to watch each other go down the road.
Watch me ice Benny, be the
Yeah.
last one out of the parking lot. I was like, no, don't remind my husband. He gets very aggravated that I'm the last one out.
That is one of my favorite stories of the year. So, we literally are at Puyallup, parked next to each other, and we were the last ones out of the parking lot because we had to walk, and of course, Raymond wanted his phone. But, so we get back there, and Andrea literally has been done, and she's, like, still there, and it's just us in the parking lot, and she's got her shavings out, and she's, like, go full on vet mode and has, like, her hazmat suit, and I'm just kidding, she didn't have a hazmat suit on. She has on her gloves and all of her and she's icing Benny, she's doing all this stuff to his feet, like, it's literally a 45-minute spa treatment for Benny before we can load up and head back to where they were staying that night and then bring him back the next day, and she's like, "Yep, this is me every time, last one in the parking lot."
Yeah, I, I, I just am. I was a nurse, worked in the ICU and the ER as a college athlete, and I mean, I try and take the very best care of my horses I can. And I always tell the girls that help me or working for us, or it's not that one run that I think, or the one walk across the parking lot. I put their soft rides on to go across the parking lot every time, because it's, to me, it's not that. It's being on the road and doing it day after day after day after day, walking across the parking lot for the next 45 days every day adds up. And
Mhm.
it, and Benny did have that keratoma in his foot, so I wanted to make sure I kept the inflammation out, and that spot was still growing in and still sensitive, and so we iced his feet every day, iced his legs every day after every single run. I packed his seat after every single run, and I don't know, I guess.
It worked. And I think too, it's like, we hear on anything and everything we do, it's the consistency, right? And like you said, it's not that one rock across the parking lot. It's every day you're doing the same thing, and it's just like, what are you putting into it? And what you put in, you get out. So the consistency, I think you proved that, and, I mean, the worst part about it is they can't talk to us, right? I wish they could. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I'm like, "Don't wanna hear what you have to say." But yeah, I mean, it's they are how we make a living, and they're our friends, even more than that, so yeah.
Yeah, I try not to um, take that for granted that they do this because we ask them to. Not he would be perfectly happy. He loves his job. That's his favorite thing to do. He's always the happiest when he gets in the alleyway to run browse. Like it's his happiest place. But he would also love to just stand out there and eat grass. So I try not to take it for granted that he does this because I ask him to,
Yeah,
and I will I will take care of him the best I can.
yeah. Well, I love it, and, just applaud you, cowgirl to cowgirl. Congratulations on all your endeavors. Thank you for joining us today on In the Loop, and we will see you down the road.